and welcome to another video, and I thought it would be apt if I make a video just kind of going over the PlayStation press conference that happened today, or I guess the PlayStation State of Play showcase, because I'm going to do this for Xbox next month when they have theirs, give it a grade, and just kind of go over like the highlights, the disappointments, and whatnot. So we're going to dive in right away, and the first thing I'm going to say is this thing was extremely underwhelming. I think, and it's a bummer because I think after Microsoft's had kind of a disastrous beginning of this month, May, this was a real chance for Sony to come out and really capitalize on that, and they didn't. Like, somehow they just showed a ton of indie games and things that you kind of already knew about, or maybe things that you already heard some rumors about, but there really wasn't a lot of surprises at this thing. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. In fact, the surprises I had were the things that weren't shown here. Like, for example, Death Stranding 2. I thought for sure we would get something about this game here. Nothing was said about it, which is really shocking. I really thought that you would see something about that. No. But then other things that you kind of already knew were going to happen, like the Snake Eater remake, was finally shown here. The other big thing that I'll say is really disappointing about the showcase, extreme lack of true exclusive titles. Like Spider-Man 2, like let's just start from the beginning. Spider-Man 2 looks fucking incredible, and that was easily the best thing shown here, and probably one of the things that is the closest here to coming out. Now, it is a bummer that they could not commit to an actual date. They just put up the generic fall 2023, because I do think that this game was planned for September, and with things like Starfield hitting, Mortal Kombat 1 just got announced for September, I almost think that Insomniac is kind of stepping back and going, maybe we push this game to November. Again, I would be stunned if this game doesn't hit this year. It seems really far along. Visually, it looks just incredible. I'm so happy this is a one system game. It's not on multiple systems. It's not a PS4 title. Nothing is holding this back, and it shows. This is a true next-gen experience. But I can't say enough good things about Spider-Man. Love the direction they're going with it. Love that it's going to be kind of the GTA 5 style, where it looks like you're switching between Miles Morales and Peter Parker. Peter Parker, they're doing the whole symbiote suit and kind of, where it's messing with his mind and everything. I cannot wait for that part of the story. Confirming Kraven the Hunter's in this game, that's fantastic. The Lizard's in this game. Like, there's so many beats to go through here. And as I'm not a diehard Spider-Man fan like my buddy Dan on Podcast 572, I'm a Batman person, but I do love Spider-Man. I'm happy to see this, and it looks fantastic. Easily the highlight of the show for me was Spider-Man 2. Like I mentioned it before, one of the other big things that was shown here was kind of already known. It was like the worst kept secret in the industry for a while, but especially in the last week, and that is, yes, Konami is remaking Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. They did show it here. It's just called Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. They don't have a 3 at the end of it anymore, which to me kind of signifies that maybe they're going to go back and remake these games one by one in chronological order. That would be really interesting. So, with the exception, they're not going to remake Metal Gear Solid 5. That would be absurd. So, but they also did confirm that Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, the original versions, will be playable on modern systems at the end of this year, with Snake Eater coming sometime in 2024. Now, again, it's important to note here, and this was the big back and forth for the last couple weeks, Snake Eater Remake is not exclusive to PlayStation. This game is coming to Xbox, Series X and S, and PC as well. So, again, another highlight here of this conference was a giant lack of exclusive titles. Like, unless you're a big indie person, and if you're a huge indie fan, like, you probably had a blast at this conference. But for me, I don't like when we spend so much focus on indie games. If you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. Indie games do offer a breath of fresh air, but make that an indie showcase. Don't take up a huge showcase that you're hyping up as, the next thing for PlayStation for the next year or so, if you're going to highlight so many independent games. Like, just put that on a different show. And I think that kind of just added a real bummer element to this show. Here's one of the bizarre things. This has been rumored for a little bit here, but I guess it's actually true. I was surprised. PlayStation has announced a dedicated streaming device. This thing, sure, man. Like, I don't need it. Like, everybody has a cell phone. Why do I need an 8-inch, streaming device screen? How much is this thing even going to cost? There's no price tag attached to it. I can't imagine this thing is cheap. So who is this for? Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to me. It's not the Vita 2. So why? That's my big question. Assassin's Creed Mirage was shown here. That got a date of October 12th, but again, not exclusive. But did get a trailer here and is currently considered a timed exclusive, but let's be honest, this game will probably be a full exclusive. Final Fantasy 16 got another fantastic trailer highlighting the story. This game continues to look tremendous. I cannot wait for it. That got, again, I really don't need to see any more footage of Final Fantasy 16. Like, I'm going to play it. So, one of the bigger surprises here at this conference, though, was they showed Dragon's Dogma 2, like, actual gameplay, and it looks fucking really good. Like, shockingly good. Again, no date. They didn't even toy with, like, oh, it's, maybe 2024. There was no date given. It was just like, here's the first trailer for this game. It looks like Dragon's Dogma, but a lot cleaner, I guess would be the way I would describe it. But that's cool. Another bizarre announcement here, because, again, this is not exclusive, but Sony owns this studio now. Bungie is remaking Marathon, which, again, that's fine. That's cool. I get it. They don't own the rights to Halo because Microsoft owns the rights to Halo. So why not go back and remake the first thing that they made? And that's cool, but why is this not exclusive? Like, it's coming to everything. Just a weird thing. Like, again, for someone who goes to one of these shows, I want to see exclusive games for the system, especially when you are the market leader and you highlight that your system has exclusive marquee games. There wasn't a lot shown here. The most bizarre thing that was shown here, I thought this actually looked bad. And I know some people will get in the comments and probably, defend it and everything, and that's fine. But obviously one of the, Sony said a couple years ago, it was leaked that Sony is trying to make a bunch of live service games. They think that's the future of multiplayer. And so one of them was revealed today. This was the first game shown at the conference. It was called Fair Games with a $sign. I don't care. It was a CG trailer. It doesn't look interesting to me. It looks like a rip-off Payday. Like, sorry, man, it's hard for me to get excited about something like this when your trailer's just CG. The Talos Principle 2, again, that was shown, not exclusive. So, cool. One of the most bizarre things shown here was a trailer from Square Enix showing a new live service Splatoon-like shooter called Foam Stars. This thing didn't do it for me. One game that I think got a lot of people excited at this conference that looked kind of interesting. I don't know if it's exclusive or not. It wasn't really said. Phantom Blade Zero, new hack and slash RPG. It looked really cool. It looked like a mix of like Chinese kung fu and steampunk. This game looked really interesting. Again, no date given or anything like that. This was just a reveal trailer, but nothing mentioned of if it's exclusive or not. Ghost Runner 2 is also announced, which that's cool. Maybe they can get Ghost Runner 2 to run on these consoles because they had a lot of problems with Ghost Runner 1. One announcement that I was excited to see, and this is exclusive, a little bit smaller, but Helldivers 2. We've known for a while that they're probably making Helldivers 2. This was a really cool cooperative shooter in the PS4 era. They are making a sequel to it. Looks fantastic. Really, really one of the highlights of the conference for me before they started just showing indie game after indie game was this one. Giant Squid, the studio behind games like Journey and Abzu, is making a new game called Sword of the Sea. This looked cool. Actually looked kind of interesting. When they first showed it, I thought it was Journey 2, to be fair. But then they show this guy just kind of skateboarding on like a sword thing in the sand, and I don't know. I dug it. So that was one of the few indie games I saw a trailer for that was like, yeah, that looks kind of cool. Again, and that's what I kind of want to highlight about this show was they did show some VR games. I'm not really going to get into those because if I'm being honest, I don't personally give a shit about PlayStation VR. If you do, that's cool. They showed Resident Evil 4 VR is being worked on and some other VR titles, but again, I just don't give a shit about that. They showed new gameplay for Immortals of Avium, which again, this looks kind of cool. This is an EA game, but it's something new, different, and original. One to watch, but again, not exclusive. So, and that's the biggest thing I want to highlight. A lot of the stuff shown here, not exclusive. No Death Stranding 2. One of the biggest things that I wanted to see at this conference that had been rumored for a while was a reboot of Castlevania. Nothing about that. So, and again, it's easy to sit back and say, well, maybe these things will come at Microsoft, because again, there wasn't a lot of exclusive things shown here. And we know now that Konami isn't looking to lock things down exclusive unless they're probably getting a little extra scratch. And they got that for Silent Hill, but they clearly didn't get that for Metal Gear Solid. So I feel like Castlevania would probably be something that is on everything and could easily be shown at Microsoft's conference. The bigger surprise here for me was I kind of called on our on Podcast 572, Alan Wake 2 would be shown and dated at the Microsoft conference. It was shown here, which I thought was kind of interesting for October 17th. This game continues to look fantastic. They're definitely going more of the horror route with Alan Wake this time, like even more so than the first game. Visually, it looks stunning. They kind of showed off that you're going to be playing as other characters besides Alan Wake himself. Cannot wait for this game. I love the original Alan Wake as a cult classic at this point. It actually made me go, hey, you know what? I have that remaster. I'm probably going to go replay that at some point over the summer before the new one comes out. But that was one of the highlights here. But again, not exclusive. And that's where I'm going to kind of wrap up. Like, again, there were plenty of other things shown, but a lot of indie titles that I don't feel like I need to cover here. That shouldn't have been the highlight of this showcase. This showcase should have been all about big, huge exclusive titles, and other than ending on a 10-minute trailer for Spider-Man 2, which again looks fucking fantastic, there wasn't really much more to go on here. And that's the biggest disappointment about everything, is I wanted to see big exclusive games. Again, this was time for Sony to step up and maybe smack Microsoft down even harder, and instead I feel like they just kind of blew it, so to speak. Like, they, now I look at this and go, well, I look at it one of two ways. Either on this side of things, you look at it and you go, okay, Microsoft has a real opportunity to come out swinging really hard on June 11th, because this showcase, was not being a disaster or anything like that, was definitely underwhelming. Or you can look at it on the opposite side and go, well, this also means that maybe Microsoft's press conference is going to be even more underwhelming than this. And that's the scary thought. So for me, this press conference was underwhelming. We got some, cool announcements. Again, Spider-Man looks fantastic, but what else was shown here that's truly exclusive outside of that and maybe a few other things? I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. That's what I text one of my buddies after I watched it. I was like, dude, this thing was like a 5 out of 10. Or a C-, whatever you feel here. If you want a letter grade, it's a C-. If you want a number, it's a 5 out of 10. I feel like Sony really kind of dropped the ball when they had a chance to just really kind of go hard, and they didn't. And it just shows, once again, they've become too comfortable being at the top. They're not taking any risks. That shows also, in their first party. Like, again, they love big third-person action-adventure RPGs that, you can do. You got a bunch of quests, you got a bunch of, objectives, the checklist. Like, they love that type of game. That's all they want to make at a big budget now. Even Spider-Man, to some extent, well, I'm really excited for it, and I'm sure it's going to be fantastic, is an open-world checklist game, just like everything else that's a first-party game. And I wanted to see something new and different here. I wanted that, like, one more thing at the end. I'm glad it was, I'm glad we saw Spider-Man, but again, I didn't want that to be the end of this press conference. I wanted there to be, hey, we got one more thing. Here's something new we're working on. You didn't get that here. So, again, it's not to say that Sony's in any kind of dire state or anything like that. Like, they're selling PlayStation 5s like hotcakes right now. They're clearly the market leader, but they're also just kind of, I think, skating by here. So, We'll see June 11th. We'll get the Microsoft Showcase. I will be doing a video on that as well after, kind of recapping it, giving my thoughts and everything. I'd love to know in the comments below, what did you think of Sony's press conference? What kind of grade would you give it? Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.